Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to another installment in the Halo implementation series. In this video, we're going to talk about, or continue to talk about, the end user portal and talk specifically around the service catalog. With me today, again, I have my absolute favorite person at Halo, Mr. Halo himself. I know he never gets tired of me saying that. Mr. Morgan Espinal, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Tell you what, I'm gonna start making some of the other people at Halo jealous. Favorite person at Halo, Mr. Halo. Hopefully these videos don't get around internally, eh?
Well, exactly. I mean, you know, people like Tim might start getting a little bit upset that I'm kind of, a bit of favoritism, but
yeah, my review's coming up soon, so yeah,
exactly.
He's Mr. Halo. He's Mr. Halo.
I'll stop for a little while, and then I'll call him Mr. Halo until your review's done, and then I'll go back to calling you that. So, but yeah,
pleasure to be here again.
Absolutely, and as always, I always appreciate it. So, today we said we're going to talk about we're going to carry on with the end user portal that we talked about last time, but we're going to focus specifically on the service catalog. So
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, a lot of the configuration of the self-service portal is relatively basic. I mean, it's going to involve creating user roles, as we discussed in the last session, and making sure those user roles have the correct permissions and making sure the users have the correct roles. Beyond that, you're going to be adding your menu buttons in. Again, if you haven't watched the last episode in the series, some of these phrases won't make much sense to you, so definitely recommend watching that if you haven't. But if you have, then you'll know the concept of menu buttons. So setting the menu buttons up, relatively straightforward, but there's one aspect of the self-service portal that everyone gets a lot of value from. It's very powerful, it's very configurable, but it's probably the part of the self-service portal that requires the most attention. So I thought it would be useful to have a dedicated session looking at the service catalog. So we have briefly touched on the service catalog earlier on in the series, but yeah, we'll just have a look purely at the service catalog and the configuration options behind it.
Yeah, sounds good.
So firstly, the actual service catalog itself is not in configuration, it's its own module. So if we click into that, we can break this screen down into two sections, really. Of course, the main bulk of the screen is the list of services that that we have configured in Halo. And then on the left-hand side here, we have our different service categories. So service categories can be created or edited just by right-clicking on the list itself. We've got a couple of options in here. Of course, the ability to add an icon and a title and a summary. The ability to set a sequence, hence ordering the service categories. And then we've also got this user access section, where we have two options here. We have a service access level, and then we have a user access option list. So firstly, the user access. So in here, we can start to filter the services within a service category based on who is logging into the self-service portal. So if we go back and let's actually jump into the self-service portal real quick. And we go to service catalog here. We see these three groups, users and services. And within here, we have a lever request. Now, I might not want everyone to log a lever request. I might actually want only the management team to be able to log lever requests. So that's where the motivation for our user access starts to come in. So we can apply user access restrictions at service category level, meaning that we restrict everything in here, or sort of more generally restrict the actual option in the options at this level. Or we do also have a user access option within a given service in the service catalog with the same options as what we just saw a moment ago. However, of course, we have here the ability to inherit the user access restrictions based on the category for the service in question. So yeah, we can start to apply user access restrictions. A good or a common example here is different customers might have different services that you provide, and hence you want to start restricting the requests of those services by customer. So you can start to say that, you know, only Tony's Tire Emporium can log lever requests, or, you know, only Tony's Tire Emporium can log a request for free CX support or something like that. So you can start to restrict the services based on customer. We also have this service access level. So service access level is another way in which services can be restricted. And there's 3 options in here, 1, 2, or 3. And we saw in the last session that end users also have a service access level. Just in here.
Yeah.
Now, an end user will be able to request services up to and including their service access level. The default service access level, I think, is 2, but I actually think that in config users general, there is a default service access level there as well. So the default in here is 2, but of course you can change that as you need. Keeping it as 2 is fine in 95% of cases. And the idea there is you have your...
The number, the more they can do, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, you want those very special services, admin rights requests, you know, backup file requests, stuff like that. You want that to be very limited to only those particular users that have the maximum service access level. And then, of course, you go to the end users and you set that service access level accordingly. Yeah. Service categories can also be grouped themselves. So you might have, for example, let's have a service in here and just call it sort of cloud services. And we might want our cloud services category to fall within the monitored services category, just like so. Just helps tidy up the options that we see on the left-hand side here. So you can start to drill down and have multiple tiers of service category. Now, let's have a look at the configuration of services themselves. So let's click into one of these. Firstly, we've got our details tab, just setting high-level information, the name of the service, the summary. Of course, we have the option to set or edit our icon up here. We have our service category. So this is how we link a service to a category. And yeah, just sort of high-level miscellaneous information in there. Yeah. The main bulk of the configuration is on the configuration tab itself. So there's a few options in here. The first one is, you know, do we actually want to show this service in the service catalog or not? Do we want users to be able to log incidents against this service, or simply just log service requests for this service? Do we want to show the ticket screen itself once we have logged that service, stuff like that? And then, is this service a monitored service? We'll probably spend a bit of time looking at the monitored services specifically in another session. For now, we'll just leave that off.
Yep.
And then down here, we have our service request details. So at its heart, the service catalog is simply a collection of tickets, ticket types / ticket templates, where the type or the ITIL type is service request. So the service catalog is just a collection of tickets, specific ticket type or template, but the important point is the ITIL type is service request. Now, services themselves, we go to the portal, the services themselves we can see on the screen here, and sort of when clicking into one, we have this form, but this form is just the new ticket screen for our leave a request ticket type. So we link the options, the services in here to tickets, ticket types. And we do that from the configuration tab under our service request details here. Now, for each of these, we have, of course, the option to set the label on the button itself. Here. The option to specify whether or not we're going to use a ticket type or a ticket template, or a custom URL. So it can actually just be navigated to a third-party service, for example. If we're picking ticket type, then we have our configuration options in here, which looks like it might actually also include tickets that are not just service requests now. Just have a quick look at that. So config tickets, ticket types, incident. Cool. So I guess, forget what I just said about it only being ITIL type service request. Now it's all ticket types that can be logged by the portal by the looks of it. So yeah, cool. Below that, we have this option to show the new ticket screen or not. So it might just be that you want it to be a quick button. You just click that and the service is logged, the ticket is created. Or if we require, or if the customer requires, or sorry, if you require the customer to provide a manual input, fill in a form, if it's a leave a request, who's leaving, then we'll want to show the new ticket screen, which basically means when we click the button, show this form.
Yeah.
We've also got this option down here of linking service requests to one another, which basically, I mean, I'm trying to think of a good example here. So you have a hardware request, and your hardware request might actually require a software request as well. You're getting a laptop, but you also need these bits of software installed on it. So you can then link one service to a number of other services. And I think that the result is the other services are logged as child tickets of the original service. we should probably just do it, because that is quite a mouthful. So we've got a desktop, and then we'll go in here and we'll go in our optional service items, and we'll pick software request. And then we have at that point, we have our details section, which is the original service. More specifically, the new ticket screen for our desktop request, plus our optional services, where we can then fill in the details that we want to link back to the original service in question, service request. Hopefully that makes sense. As I've bodged that a little bit, but yeah, hopefully.
That makes. I mean, yeah, and I think that's that's something that I've shown a bunch of customers that already kind of how to link the two together, and I think that's something that's so cool with the service catalog, is being able to kind of go, well, yeah, I've got this PC, and now I want a bunch of other stuff that comes with it. So you put that under optional.
Yeah, that's it. You can actually have multiple different service request buttons for a given service. I've never seen this used on the PS. Well, I've seen it used a couple of times on the PSA side. I suppose a good example might be, request the service or log an incident against the service, and then you've got two different buttons from your service item. So if we do like desktop incident, and then pick our ticket type of incident, then we've got multiple different buttons here. And of course, behind these buttons are just ticket types or ticket templates. So when I click this, I have my new incident screen, versus when I click the request button, I've got the desktop request. So yeah, you can have multiple different buttons per service item. And that is a brief introduction to the service catalog, I suppose. The big takeaway that I try to sort of make sure people are aware of is the service catalog in Halo is just a collection of ticket types / ticket templates. Services are grouped by service category, and user access can be applied at service category level or at service level. And that is either via a combination of the user access section itself and or the service access level, where an end user has access to services up to and including their service access level. And then the other, so that's one half of the service catalog that takes quite a bit of time setting up, because of course, to have this, in all its glory, you need to create your ticket types with all of the forms and the field lists against them, and all of the configuration on that side, and then all of the services, and link the services to the ticket types as we've got in here. And then the other side of the service catalog and of services is monitored services. And how do we track the status of a monitored service? How do we update the status of a monitored service? And how can customers see the status of a monitored service? And for that, we will have a look in our next session.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that's a great place to wrap it up, and I think that's really helped in terms of, you know, people have always asked and always wondered what the service catalog is about and how it works. I think that's been really good, and you know, a really good way to kind of display that stuff on the portal. So as always, really appreciate it, Morgan. Thank you so much for your time. And like I always say on all these videos when I wrap up, you know, really appreciate that Halo is allowing us to do this. These videos are getting, you know, a lot of exposure, a lot of people watching them, you know, and I think it's really helping the community. So really good thing we're doing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that you're spending the time to do these. I know how valuable your guys' time is. So so it's good that you're spending the time with us. So really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you on the next video.
Yeah, always a pleasure. And yeah, I'm pleased to hear the community are getting value from these sessions. And yeah, full steam ahead, and there's no end in sight. So
Absolutely.
yeah, cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, see you on the next one.
Excellent. And thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.
Thank you
Cheers.
very much. Bye.